And once again, I'm the graduate assistant for new student and family programs. We have a really great webinar for you today. We have Taylor Kiley and Diego Esparza here to present a little bit to you about understanding your students' changing values and experiences. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let me just pull up her PowerPoint for you real quick. All right.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ashley, for the warm introduction. My name is Taylor Kiley, and I serve as our Director for Inclusion and Diversity Excellence. And this is...
I'm Diego Esparza. I serve as the Graduate Assistant for the Office of Enrollment Management.
And we're very excited today to talk just a little bit about our own experiences individually and then as professionals working with our college students on a regular basis to help you better understand your students' experiences and how they change throughout their time in college. So to kick off today, we want to just do a little bit of exploring ourselves. So in the background, you can see some young children playing rollerblade hockey. And the reason I wanted to kick off with this about myself is the first community that I grew up in. I have 5 brothers. I don't have any sisters. I also grew up in a neighborhood of boys, and so we played roller hockey, we played basketball, we played soccer, and as I began making friends and going to school, as I started developing those friendships, I assumed everyone in their free time played rollerblade hockey, played basketball, and then as I met my friends and they did different things, dance and gymnastics, I didn't realize that my community was based around the people that I interacted with on a regular basis. And so definitely my community shaped my early elementary school days. I want Diego to share a little bit about his story. And as we progress through this webinar today, we'll continue to share pieces of our story.
So I actually was born in Mexico. My parents immigrated here when I was 6 years old. We immigrated to a very small town in South Central Kansas. And it was just very interesting for me, just seeing the differences between the two cultures and slowly, becoming integrated with the cultures and just the differences that there are and made aware of those differences very early on in life.
And so I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and also grew up in a larger community than maybe Diego had experienced. And so our experiences were a little bit different, but I want you to think about your life. Flash back to the neighborhood that you grew up with and really think about for a minute, what were some of those memories? What were some of those experiences in the community around you? So just take a minute and think about that. And now kind of think about where your community is today. So where I'm at today, I live in Hays, Kansas, and I work at Fort Hays State University. I have a lot of friends and family that are close to me in the area. Our community size is smaller than the community I grew up in Wichita, but familiar with where I've been most of my life.
And I grew up in Maxwell, Kansas, which is a town about 500 people. So while a lot of people like Taylor think that Hays isn't a large town, large city, for rural Kansas, we do think it's a large town and there's a lot of things here to do. So it's definitely a different community and a different culture to get adjusted to.
So just think about, as your community has changed, no matter if it was 10 years ago, 20 years, 30, 40, your community might have changed or it might have stayed the same. It just kind of depends on the opportunities and experiences that you've had personally and with your family. So now I want you to think about your student and what your student has had experience, the communities that they've been a part of, and what was their community like, and what are their perspectives and experiences that they've had. So just think about that for a minute. So as Diego and I have mentioned, really who we are is because of ourselves. It's our view of the world, how we've had experiences and met different people that have shaped our values, our perceptions, assumptions, expectations that we have for the future and how we interpret everything around us. And so the way we see and do things coupled with the way that other people see and do things, really helps us to new ways of thinking and perceiving the world around us. And so Diego and I have very different stories and experiences. However, he's helped me learn, and hopefully I've helped you learn a little bit as well, just about some of those different experiences. So I like to show this conscious beliefs and unconscious beliefs, because these are formed based, again, on those communities and experiences. And we're just naturally hardwired to prefer people who look like us, sound like us, share our interests. This is our subconsciousness, that we have those natural people preferences. And then our conscious beliefs are those choices that we're consciously making based on what we believe and what we value. But our natural preferences sometimes lead us to certain communities, certain jobs, certain experiences throughout our time. So, talking a little bit about exploring new communities, think about the first time you experienced something new. So the first time for me is when my family moved to Seattle, Washington. And I was working in downtown Seattle at one of the local restaurants. And from Wichita to Seattle, drastically different communities. And the people that I was surrounded with and that I talked with on a regular basis really changed the way I think and perceive the world. Diego, do you have any experiences?
One of my biggest experiences was moving into higher education, which is at Hutchinson Community College. And that's the first time that I experienced other cultures outside of the Hispanic culture and the American culture. And just intentionally putting myself into those situations, because, I thought that I was fairly rounded, but I wasn't at the time. It really helped me intentionally moving into those areas.
And so you might have an experience in your life where you feel like you joined a new community, or maybe people joined your community and they had come from a larger or smaller community of people. And really, this idea of exploring new communities is what's most important in understanding where your student is at, because no matter where they're coming from, Fort Hays is an arena of a new community. There are people, there are experiences, there are opportunities that they may or may not have had where they have come from, but in addition, they're new people. It could be the same event or the same program, but it's different people that they're working with and experiencing the events and programs and activities that we have. So when you think about Fort Hays State University, you think about this arena of dynamic opportunities, and we want you to think about your student in this new community and how they might be navigating and what you can do to support them in this new community. And all of us go through some of the hesitation and fear when we go to a new community, or we're embracing people into our community. And it's important to remember, again, when you go back to those conscious and unconscious beliefs, and that's how we typically navigate until we've had something that alters those beliefs. And so we change because of the things that we are doing. So I change because of me, because I'm in a new community and I'm stepping out and trying new things. And that's one of the biggest things we like to encourage students to do when they come to Fort Hays, is go to something that you wouldn't naturally go to, or that isn't a natural interest for you. And explore as much as you can explore in order to really develop the thinking and perspectives and values that you want. And I don't know if Diego is going to share a little bit about kind of his first time going to college and what that experience was like.
So really for me, the first time going to college, the first club I joined was the Hispanic American Leadership Organization. And that's just because I felt at home. That was my community. That's where I felt at home. But then I decided that, you know what, I need something different. So I decided to join a fraternity. And that was something very different than what I was used to. And it made me, change my perspectives a lot on things. And I was thankful for my parents, because they were extremely supportive of me going out and doing those new experiences without, staying the same.
Mm-hmm. So when I went to college, actually quite some time ago, and when I lived in the residence halls, and my parents helped me move in, and they left. My mom was probably still crying today from leaving me. But I remember sitting there, walking out of my residence hall, started walking on campus, and I froze. And I said to him, I have no idea where I'm going. I have no idea what I want to do. And I don't know anyone here. And that for me was a life-changing moment when I discovered that I was in this new place. Even though I had met some people along my process of choosing to go to college, I hadn't built strong relationships, and I had never really been on a college campus before where I knew where to go, what to expect. And so many things are optional. I definitely didn't take advantage of the campus tour when I went, which would have helped me dramatically. But we have learned since I was that student going to college, and we've learned that we have to provide more support and more opportunities to really engage our students to help them not freeze right there and then not know what to do. And I went back that day and I just sat in my residence hall room trying to figure out what to do next, because I had just been on such a routine in my life. Trying to figure out how to navigate this experience on my own was very different. And I think that while the institution provides a lot of experiences and opportunities to socially and educationally engage our students inside and outside the classroom, my role as the Director for Diversity and Inclusion is to make sure that we do our best job in helping students explore events and trainings and programs that diversify their cultural competency. And that's kind of a tough job, because I don't know how to get every single student to get outside of that natural preference that they have, and so if they're naturally drawn to do the things that they've always done and to experience the things they've always experienced, how do I interact with those students, and how do I help create an experience that helps them see the world from another person's perspective? Diego and I definitely have different perspectives and have had the opportunity to share those perspectives with each other. But had I not met Diego, then I wouldn't understand his story, and I wouldn't have been able to learn from his experiences. And he's honestly helped shape the way that I think and respond in certain situations that are happening in my community, that are happening at the state and the national level. And it's something that we hope that every student understands, is that you can learn from another person, whether they're like you or not like you. You can learn from everyone. And we all are connected and share similarities and differences, no matter who we are, no matter where we've come from, no matter what race, ethnicity, culture, we all can find those connections. And some of the programs in our office that we try to host in order to provide experiences for students, one is our Novels for Hope. It is our diversity book club. We offer a series of books throughout the semester, which engages faculty, staff, and students on current topics around diversity and inclusion to really help people understand the story of someone else, and then to talk about what their story is compared to another person's story and how to help them navigate Fort Hays State University. So if you're not into books, it's okay. We have films. We have our Films for the Future. I personally prefer films. Diego?
I'm a book person.
See, again, Diego's the book person. I'm the films. We also do our Films for the Future. And so students, faculty, and staff can come and watch different films that we host throughout the semester, and then engage in conversation and discussion again about our historical and current issues that we're facing, in understanding each other better and building the country and world that we all want to live in someday. We also have a variety of celebrations and events throughout the year, and honestly, probably every day of the year is celebrating something. My particular office really focuses specifically on culture and minority groups, oppressed groups, and so I try to choose celebrations and events that help every student find themselves at Fort Hays State University. So we call it our Find You at FHSU. And those are celebrations and events that happen throughout the entire year that really help us hit to every student and their experience here at Fort Hays, but also to help us educate and share the stories for other students to learn about our diverse student population that we have here on campus. We also have several other committees and organizations, student organizations, faculty, staff organizations that students can get involved in throughout their time here at Fort Hays. I want Diego to share a little bit just about the importance of getting involved in those programs from his perspective as a student in college.
For me, it was definitely important to get involved in those opportunities because it allowed me to understand other people's thinking. My major was political science, so I really wanted to understand why people thought the way they did and how their background shaped the way they did, their thought process. And really being intentional with that was really one thing that I valued. And one of the biggest experiences that I had was actually with the service organization, Circle K International.
Mm-hmm.
It really brought everyone together for the common good and working on one thing, but everyone from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time I'd actually seen that happen, is everyone from different backgrounds working together for one goal.
And again, I think as we talk about different experiences, I want to highlight a few of our major opportunities that maybe your student is participating in now or could eventually get more involved in the future. So some of your students may be in one of our living learning communities. We have a variety of living learning communities, which brings people that share a common interest somewhere together. Now, one interest can lead to other interests within that living learning community, but it also brings in a variety of people to share those experiences, to have support from the institution in order to help kind of navigate their first year here at Fort Hays. Another really exceptional opportunity are any of the trips that might be in-state or globally, internationally. If you can go on some different leadership, study abroad, academic trips that will enhance the field of study that the student is wanting to learn, but also gives them that natural ability to build relationships with other classmates wherever they might be traveling to build relationships or to see a community in a different perspective. I had the opportunity to study abroad as a student and then also be a faculty instructor and taking students abroad. So if your student is interested in studying abroad, definitely encourage this, as it was life-changing for me. It helped me build my own confidence and self-awareness of who I am, but it also helped me see the world differently. And while I'm in Hays, Kansas, and some people might not think it's the most diverse place in all of America or in the world, I know that my perspectives help me create a better place for the people that I'm interacting with here, and I know that it helps me be a better civic leader in my community. And again, there are multiple opportunities and experiences within our diverse student organizations, but all of our student organizations on campus, they can go to different conferences and do some professional development in their specific field or in an interest area that they might have as well. And so definitely be encouraging your student to explore whatever those opportunities are on campus. Have them share with you what they're interested in. Ask them those questions on how they can be more involved in getting to get outside of our campus community just right here. Diego, you have anything else to share with that?
I don't think so.
Okay, so before we kind of wrap up this section and get to some strategies that will help your students, I really want to bring back home the point that when we experience new communities, this sometimes changes or reinforces the way we think, our values, our beliefs, our perspectives. And in the workforce, wherever your student is going, they're going to work with a diverse population of people. Whether they look like them or have the same interests, it's going to be a diverse group of people. And so it's important, again, to encourage that and help them develop and navigate learning how to work with different people right here on our campus. And just think that every choice and everything that they're making is based on their past and what they're experiencing now in order to help them in their future. Simple strategies, which you can get into research, and there are a lot more in-depth ways to support your student. But the number one advice that I really have is to just be positive. Ask questions positively, listen positively, be interested in a positive manner. Everything stressing positivity, because it's hard to be in college. It's hard to navigate a new environment. It's hard to become the professional in the field you want to practice. And so as a parent, if you ask questions, if you listen, if you're interested, if you truly care and support their development and learning who they are, I guarantee you the relationship that you have with your student is going to be a lot stronger and a lot less stressful for the student. A lot of times I'm working with students who are struggling with communicating this new community that they're having with their parents because they may not be utilizing some of these strategies in a positive manner. And I remember when I first told my parents I wanted to change my major and they said, no, you told us you were going to be an elementary education teacher. You're supposed to graduate. What do you mean you want to change your major? Again, I was stressed to tell them I wanted to change, let alone changing. Again, that supportive positiveness of parents is really important. So I want Diego to share a little bit about his relationship with his parents and the impact on that as well.
Neither of my parents went to college or got a college degree. So it was, everything with higher ed was a completely different experience for them. And, we'd had the conversation of, well, what happens, if I come back with some crazy idea that I'm learning in college? And they were very supportive. And that's the one thing that I appreciate the most for them. They were extremely supportive. While they disagreed with what I was thinking, what I was saying, they didn't explicitly tell me that. They were still positive. They were still reaffirming that I should continue to explore and continue to grow. But, to still stay grounded in what I've been brought up to believe in.
And again, it's hard. As a mom now, I want to make sure that Brinley has the best life she can possibly have. That's my daughter's name. And so I know all of you who have a student here at Fort Hays, you want the best for your student, just as I want the best for my daughter. And I think to myself all the time, if I'm being as supportive as I can be for what she needs, not what I need. So it's reaffirming to me all the time as a parent. And she's still so little. And so I can relate to that need to want to provide that safety and security for your student. We have incredible staff here on our campus that can provide some of that additional safety and security as they explore new opportunities. We have exceptional faculty and staff. We have exceptional support staff that's outside of the classroom in our counseling and wellness center. We also just have exceptional upper class students who take value in leading the way and mentoring students. And so again, if they have the love, support, encouragement from parents, from the faculty and staff, from upper class students, that creates an environment that allows them to be the most successful that they can be. Again, it's stressful to go to college and it's hard to think about everything that you need to do. And then in your mind, you're going through all of these different, I don't know if I believe this, or if I want to try this out, or if I want to do this. And just, again, stepping outside of that natural preference is a challenge and does provide some of those initial thoughts that go through your head on who am I and who do I want to become. And so I encourage you all, again, in a positive way, to still ask questions. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything your student is saying or doing, but asking questions versus telling them what to think or how to feel is important. If you're listening without lecturing, that can provide some opportunities for success. If you're interested instead of disengaged, that generates that idea that I want to continue to engage with my parents. And obviously we care and we want to be supportive, which is the only reason we like to challenge and tell and direct as well. But I know that I've learned a lot from the different people and communities that I've had the opportunity to be a part of. And we hope that your student is doing the same. And so if your student ever needs any help, Diego and I are more than willing to help, but you can definitely recommend sending your students to our diversity and inclusion office or events and programs, and we would do anything to support them in their journey here at Fort Hays. Any last thoughts, Diego?
Just really, when they come back home, greet them with an open mind. They're probably going to just come back home and just ramble and just listen to them. Sometimes it's hard for us to get time to debrief ourselves because we're constantly on the go with our organizations, with our classes, and are trying to keep a social life and homework. Sometimes we just need someone to talk to. Just keep that in mind when your students are coming home.
So at this time, we would like to open up to questions that anyone might have that would be able to help you better support your student.
Brett, do you have any questions or anything? Oh, sure.
So one of the questions that I know that parents ask me all the time is how much is too much to be involved and invested and to challenge. And again, that's a personal preference. I know from my own experience with my own parents being in college, if it got to a point where it was stressful for me, I started talking less, or I was more quiet and I listened to what they had to say. And while my parents may or may not know that, that was my indication of, okay, I'm uncomfortable, or you're stressing me out more than I already was. So you kind of either A, have that open conversation with your student about what are some indicators that would better help you know if you are supporting them or asking in a supportive manner, or finding those ways. Diego, do you have kind of an example to share?
Yes. I came home one day and I was completely overwhelmed. I was an RA and we didn't have diversity training. We didn't have any of that. And I came home one day and just complained to my parents for a good half hour, and they were completely disengaged. And that's when I learned the cues of, and that was the first time my parents were really disengaged in what I was saying. So
kind of as a parent, a parent or family member, you really have to kind of be observant and watch and see changes in behavior, calling less, talking less, sharing less about their stories, and then try to find another way to approach your student to try to figure out how to better support them that would strengthen that communication and sharing of information. So there's not a perfect answer. All parents and family members, how do I best support? It's how your student wants to be supportive. So either ask or observe or begin those conversations in order to make sure that you're doing what they want versus maybe what your style or approach might be.
And one thing that I do give my parents credit for is when I did come home and talk to them about an issue or talk to them about something or try distancing myself, they realized that, and they themselves recommended that I go and see these offices on campus, because they had been listening, and even though they didn't go to college, they knew these offices existed. And while they can help me, they guided me towards getting to those services that I needed at the time.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that was really great. I'm just going to move you guys over here. Sorry for the wiggling. So we are going to have a webinar next month. So stay tuned for some more information on that. We'll be posting that on our Facebook page, FHSU or Fort Hays State University Parent or Family Engagement Program. Sorry. We have quite a few Facebook pages. So that's the one that we'll be posting it on. I will also be sending it out in our March newsletter. So make sure you're on the lookout for that, and we'll get all the information to you. Thanks for joining us.